A lot of people fear that America is on the verge of becoming a communist nation. And indeed that is a concern. A lot of our youth have been indoctrinated by the education system that communism is the way, that socialism is the way, that capitalism has failed. And they point to China chiefly as an example of economic prosperity or the potential of a communist society. Well, I'm about to poke holes all through all of that. So especially we'll do China. But guys, it is important that we get this information out, because we need to indoctrinate the young people. We need to turn them around to understanding the perils of communism and the fact that it is not what they advertise it to be. And it can never be as good as what we have here today. And of course, the felons of capitalism. Well, guys, we don't live in a truly capitalistic society, at least not a true capitalistic society with free open markets and open competition. And the game is being rigged very heavily in the United States between corporate, private, and government joint endeavors. The fact that the government funds big corporations heavily, while the interest rates currently out there now are crushing small private enterprises. So my friends, we have a corporatism here in America where the big companies go lobby Congress to get what they want. And it's perverted. It's perverted by the election campaign system we have and a lot of other stuff in this country. So we don't have a true capitalistic society. So what you see failing here is the system wherein an elite few tend to game the system to control it. And it's interesting how those are the same elite few in many times that are promoting the socialism and so-called communism through outfits such as the World Economic Forum and other such large intergroup agencies and organizations that seem to promote communism and socialism. They seem to get the young people in this country started. But what they're really trying to do is create a society, a stratified society in which they remain at the top. Don't think that they ever plan to surrender that. And basically knock all the ladders out where other people can climb the same position, shutting down a lot of the smaller companies. Yeah, that's what they like to do. Regional banks, smaller organizations. And in America, 60% of the jobs are provided by small companies, less than 500 employees. Now, let's get to it. It's a little windy out here. I was wanting to film from the ridge up here, but it's way too windy up there, so I hope this audio quality isn't too bad. No, I can't put a sock on this because the microphone is recessed right under the lens. So if I put a sock on it, you'll get no video with this camera. Yeah, it is a little windy here right now, so sorry for that. But anyway, Chinese Communist Party, guys. In 1978, Deng Xiaoping took control of China, and he knew that he wanted China to grow and be a powerful nation economically and militarily to take on the United States of America. And the model they were following wouldn't get them there. He knew that communism had shortfalls. So he instituted market reforms, which they called communism with Chinese characteristics. So really and truly, they set up a market society emulating capitalism. Well, that helped them out quite a bit, but also you got to remember there's two other things that also helped China perform an economic miracle for a number of decades. It's not the success and wonders and beauties of communism. One of the facts of the matter is that Chinese people and society was technologically backwards. They didn't have good means of production. Their production systems were antiquated. So they updated that, and it gave them an enormous advantage. They also had cheap labor. So if you combine the fact they were modernizing and increasing productivity through modernization, the fact that they were opening market systems up, and the fact that they also they had their little real estate Ponzi scheme running, which fueled their economy for quite a while, and lower labor rates. So there's four things there that really fueled the growth of the economy of China. Part of it in a Ponzi scheme or that real estate speculation they had running, which that Ponzi scheme is busting now. So China is suddenly in a situation where they're going to have to make some decisions, and it could lead to war. All right, all that said, China never could compete on a person-to-person, company-to-company, toe-to-toe basis with a true capitalistic economy. The reason being is even in their system, even though they opened up market reforms, which helped them quite a bit, they have to deal with the fact that a lot of the jobs in China are really awarded not based on merit. See, merit is the key. We're taking merit out of our system here. We're coming up with other reasons to promote people other than what they can accomplish. And that's always a detriment to what you can produce as a producing company or entity, which is directly proportional to your prosperity. But they have a system there where favoritism is given to members of the Chinese Communist Party and their kids. There's nepotism in the system, but it's mainly favors and connections and how closely coupled you are to the ruling class of the country through the Chinese Communist Party and its various organs, particularly the ones that directly support the head of state, like the Xi Jinping. That is the main thing. It's also, they have their states in China, so those are important too in that regard. But there's just a lot of corruption in the system. It's so bad, that is why the young people in China feel like they can't get ahead by working and by being actually accomplished people. And that's why they have the land flat movement in China, because these people know that, hey, there's nothing I do that's going to get me ahead, so why should I try? Why should I produce? And see, that's the kind of thing that's going to hurt their system. One of the great beauties of capitalism is that, you know, you get rewarded theoretically according to what you produce, what you can produce, how good you are, how smart you are. Yeah, luck and fortune are always a piece of it, and there are always people that inherit stuff. That's, you know, kind of just goes with the system anywhere you go, even in China. And that's not supposed to happen in communist societies, but we've seen it happen in every communist society we know of practically, except maybe, I don't know, some tribal society, maybe. But in any event, guys, so the whole deal is that you don't have an incentive to produce in a true communist society. It's just not there. And without the incentive to produce, the incentive to work, things don't get produced, or they don't get produced effectively. Economies suffer, and you have poverty. Most communist nations are living in poverty, and they're repressive because communism. See, here's another thing I got to bring up to you guys. You know, you go, well, capitalism, I can hear it right now from a lot of you guys, well, capitalism lets you destroy the environment, capitalism lets you do this, capitalism lets you do that. Well, let me preface that. You have two different things in most countries. You have a political system and an economic system, and they're not always the same. And some countries are more tightly coupled than others. But your political system should be the system that allows a nation to reflect its cultural values. What do you value? If you value protecting this or that or the other thing, then that should be a part of what goes into that. And that governs also what your economic system, your companies, and what other entities may be operating in your country through laws and the legal system. And that's where the political system reigns. But now in some countries, like typically in communist countries, the political system and the economic system are one and the same. Some countries, the economic, political, and religious system are the same. And, you know, what communism don't like religion because they don't want it competing with them. Communism does not survive in any two-party state because communism, by its very nature, is decrepit. It don't survive. It can't stand on its own 2 feet. The only way it survives is to stamp out any opposition or any even opinions. Freedom of speech are not permitted truly in a communist society or any other totalitarian society to some degree, but especially in a communist society, freedom of speech is an anathema. It doesn't work. So these countries try to do away with things like that. That's why we need freedom of speech in this country. So if something don't sound right, you can throw up an opposing opinion. It may be goofy or wrong, you can still put it out there. And if it's goofy or wrong, it's going to show up as that over time. And people can judge for themselves. Your ideas should be able to compete in the free market of ideas. Now back to this whole thing with communism. China, the economy there is beginning to fail now. They've run to their limits. Their labor routes now are getting expensive. They have lost a lot of the advantages. The economic bubble is running out. So now China might resort to warfare just to keep the regime in power. Those, you know, people don't like to change parties and leaders in the middle of war. Same thing could be true here. I said might and maybe. I didn't say that was going to happen, so don't put words in my mouth. I'm using qualifiers when I speak, okay? Bear that in mind. I don't make start-directed predictions, except I predicted the cost of food would go up, and it did. I mean, somebody said, nothing you predict ever comes true. I seldom predict anything. I tell you what the possibilities are, except the price of food going up. So I predicted that, and then sure enough, it happened. So, guys, here's the thing. I talk about things that can't happen. But what is happening, and one thing that is true, is that communism is a failed, decrepit concept. You look around the world at all the communist societies, people are trying to get out of them. They put up walls to keep their people in, to keep them prisoners, to keep them to be production units, slaves essentially in their society. It's not good. This is not what people want. It's not what people should strive for. So, look at Venezuela. They're poor. They're in poverty. Venezuela has got more oil than just about anybody. They should be a rich society, but yet they're living in poverty ever since they went into communism. You'll find the same thing. North Korea. That's a communist state. Well, if you look at it from a satellite, it's dark. There's lights all around North Korea, but North Korea itself is dark because they're just living in abject poverty. People can't even afford a flashlight or a light in their house. They're using campfires quite often. The country is dirt poor. You look at communist countries around the world, it's poor. So well, everybody's equal. Yeah, you're equally poor. You're equally in poverty. Is that what you really want? A lot of people think that, well, if I support putting this regime in power, I support the communists when they take over, I'm going to be sitting fat and happy. Well, actually, that never happens, because in a totalitarian society, which all communist societies have to become to survive because their ideas are bankrupt, what happens is that the people there that put it in charge get rid of the people that help them set it up, because they don't want revolutionaries. They don't want discontents or malcontents. They want people that's going to go along with the system. And the people that rebel and help themselves their society is usually the first people they get rid of. And that's true in any totalitarian system. Hitler did it, even with the people that started out his Nazi movement in Germany. So this is not, purely a communist thing. It's just a totalitarian type thing. And communism does not survive in a free and open market society. In any society where the ideals are even free and open, communism doesn't survive, because it goes against the nature of humanity. It goes against people's ability to aspire, to yearn, to create, and to have ownership, true ownership, because we're territorial as beings. True communists don't have any ownership. Now they have what looks like ownership to some degree in China. I'm not absolutely sure how they manage all that. People buy houses, they buy apartments, and things like that. They do have some market-like systems in China, but whatever the case is, and it could be, the case could be made that China's not really communist anymore, that maybe it's fascist. Look it up. Look up the state and government, state and corporate partnerships, societies that are run that way. You got to really wonder, what kind of society is China? I'll leave that open to you to figure out for yourself. But whatever the case is, it's not something that we in the West should want to aspire toward. We should not want to aspire toward that. We should not want to aspire toward communism, and even socialism, which is often vaunted as being, well, communism might be bad, but socialism's good. I even bought into that a little bit back when I was in high school. And then people point to Northern Europe, the Scandinavian countries. The Scandinavian countries are abandoning socialism to a large extent, especially Norway. They're abandoning socialism because it's really not worked out for them. So they're going more and more toward more market society, a more capitalistic society. In China, you don't have a social safety net. Everybody thinks in a communist society you're going to always have a job, you're going to have some income, you're going to be taken care of. See, look at what's happening in China today. The system is such that people are having kids in order, people want to have kids in order to, and they want sons, in order to take care of the parents when the parents get too old. Well, now they only got one son to take care of two parents, and that kid's going to have a big burden. So where's the social safety net? Where is the society come in and take care of folks? It's not. Why does communist China like to blow up levees and dams? Because they make it look like an act of God, and so that, we didn't choose, so we're not responsible. We don't have to pay you for your home getting washed away. Is that true communism? Is that what they tell you that they would do? But you don't find in any communist society where the people are happy with the way the government works. Look, communism fell in Russia. Communism has fallen in a lot of countries, Eastern Europe. People wanted out of it. They didn't want no part of it. People tried to escape from communism. I just read an article about a family that got out of Cuba 61 years ago, and they still celebrate the day they got to Florida. Communism is bankrupt. Communism steals your soul. Communism is no way to go. And if you're one of these people to help put it in power, you're going to be one of the first they probably throw in the hooscow, put shackles on. You think you're going to be set and mighty and pretty, in some big state job? No. You've been fooled. You've been fooled. They won't tell you that up front because they want you to help them instigate whatever they want to instigate. But truly what the so-called House of Klaus and their ilk are trying to set up is a neo-feudalism of the sorts. And they may run it under the guise of socialism and communism, but all they're wanting to do is take away your ability to rise, keep themselves and theirs in a permanent high state, and keep you down in that you'll own nothing and you'll be happy mentality, because they're going to own everything. Yeah, BlackRock is buying stuff like crazy, and they're leasing. Yeah, they want to lease. Yeah, where's that going to leave you? No independence. You need independence. You need to be like people living out here in the desert. You need to be more and more independent. That's why I like this area. And an economy, true economy, needs to strike a balance between politics and economy and everything else. Out here in the desert, you got to balance it. You got life. Life thrives wherever it can. It's got to do it within the balance of what water is available. But it will thrive if allowed. And that's the way an economy should be. It should thrive when allowed. But, you know, and the allowing is what we value in society. It's where we put our mores. What is important to us? That's what the political system is for. But, you know, guys, just putting it straight to you, communism is a failed concept. Communism doesn't work. Communism doesn't provide the incentives you need to build a strong, prosperous economy. So, now that I put that out there, tell me what you think in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Free to say whatever you want. We have a free society. You can still use your freedom of speech, at least on my channel. Thank you for watching. Be sure to check out my C60. Go shopc60.com, and you can get the C60 that is so good for fighting free radicals and oxidation in your system. Check it out. Shop C60 and use the discount code GREG10 to get 10% off. Thank you for watching. Greg out.